All right, everybody. Welcome to the Fantasy Timeline, episode 157. And as you know, we are a proud member of the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network. I'm Josh at Real Fantasy TL. I am with the co host with the most, Drew at DR underscore PRA. Drew, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Ready for Turkey Day.
That's right. Um, our personal teams uh, didn't do so well last week, but they righted the ship this week. We both got some wins. It's good after some tough losses to get some
Yeah.
some wins and keep stacking them in the win column. So on that note, let's do our thing, man. The good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, Drew, do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I can go first.
All right, do it up with the
Uh,
good.
yeah, it was tough narrowing down to a couple here. I was looking at. We'll see if you get one of them here, but at first I was looking at George Kittle. Looked like he had a pretty solid day. Then realized that he did most of his damage on 2 catches. And then you go and look at the number one tight end still in fantasy football, and Travis Kelce, and
Facts.
115 yards and 3 touchdowns, just absolutely dominated that game. Uh,
Facts.
I had a game locked up. I was playing against Herbert and Mahomes Monday night, and I had a significant lead until he scored that third touchdown, and I
Oh,
lost by something like 1.7 points as a
oh
result of that.
man.
Um, but it was just impressive to watch this guy just keep doing it year after year. And yeah, that was just yeah, none of it. It wasn't just these little goal line passes, shovel pass, 2 yards. He had a nice catch and run, and he just made himself the guy in that game Monday night. So incredible performance.
Yeah, I mean, man, did we call for the death of Travis Kelsey? Maybe just a little too early. I mean, coming into this season, what were we saying? Ah, it's Mark Andrews. He's the guy now. It's Mark Andrews. Travis Kelsey's still good, but Mark Andrews. And Travis Kelsey was like, well, I mean, I'm still pretty good. I still know how to play this game of football. I don't have Tyreek Hill taking away my thunder. Um, the guys that they brought in uh, are all that just guys. So, yeah, I mean, he's just going to keep doing what he's doing, man. And I know it's eventually going to fall off, but I kind of just look at it like, all right, like I'll probably be there in that season. He'll still be on my team when he falls off, and
Yep.
I'm gonna be fine with it because I got a lot of he. A comparison I can make is to kind of like to Zeke Elliott. Every year I was like Zeke Elliott, it's gonna keep doing it, and one year you're gonna be wrong. This is the year. um, but I'm like, man, I would rather just hold on to that. I mean, unless obviously got a great deal, I'd rather hold on to that type of an asset because guys like Zeke Elliott and the amount of times they end up as a running back one are rare. Travis Kelsey is rare. I mean, when was the last time we saw something like this? Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, when you have those rare situations, I don't mind holding on a year too late because I know all the years before that were really good and helped me hopefully win a lot of games and maybe win a couple championships. So
Yeah.
I love that one, and I kind of not shoehorned, but I kind of brought Zeke Elliott into the conversation because it goes along with my good. Tony Pollard. Now, the Cowboys, uh, I've heard every adjective for this game, dog walked, dominated, demolished. Pick your favorite one, and that's what they did to the Minnesota Vikings. A 40-3 victory.
Drubbing.
The largest road win in Cowboys history. Now, this is a franchise that's won games. They've been on top, and you can say, well, that was 30 years ago. But, I mean, they've won double-digit games plenty of times in the maybe not in the 2000s. They were pretty terrible. But the 2010s, and I think once maybe in the decade of 2020 here, the largest road victory in their history. Tony Pollard was a big reason why. 15 for 80. 15 rush attempts for 80 yards. No touchdowns. That doesn't sound like a really good running back game until you add in the fact that he had 6 targets for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, my goodness. I've been asking myself this question, and you can give me your opinion. Have the Cowboys almost set themselves up to repeat history? Remember when they signed Zeke Elliott, everyone's like, that's a bad deal. You're not supposed to sign running backs for that much money. And by the way, I agreed. I was like, I get it, Zeke. I love Zeke, but God, that's a lot of money to tie up in a running back. But now Tony Pollard is just like, oh, yeah, like I'm really good too. I can run for over 5 yards an attempt. I can catch 100 yards in a game if necessary. I can score touchdowns at will. I am so scared that I don't think it's going to be in the $15 million range. Don't get me wrong. But I still wouldn't be happy if it was in the $10 million range. If after this season, which I think Tony Pollard is going into a free agent year, if I'm remembering this correctly. If it's like 4 years, 48 million with like 40 guaranteed, I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm sorry. And I think someone on the free agent market is going to pay him $10 million a year guaranteed. Like, it's not even like $10 million guaranteed, but really it's like $6 million. I don't think that's going to be the case, because if he makes it to free agency, and I don't know the rest of the free agent running back, so I could be wrong, but he's probably going to be the best one out there. So if you want to keep him, and he's making a really good case to want to keep him.
Yep.
What do you do? That worries me. But I don't want to detract from the goodness that was Tony Pollard in that game. Man, is right now, is he one of the top 10 running backs in the game right now?
I mean, for the rest of the season, I don't see how he's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go even higher, I think, when you start listing, situation, talent, production so far. I mean, who else is going to be up there? Derrick Henry.
Saquon.
We'll get to him.
And we'll get to him. But Saquon has done very well this year.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Austin Eckler.
Yeah. Jonathan Taylor should be, but his situation is, maybe it's getting better. It looks like maybe Jeff Saturday is going to go and lean on him for the next few weeks.
Is he, though? And if this is a guy you want to talk about, tell me to shut up. I don't know. Okay, good. So let's talk about him for a second. He had 50 rush yards in the first quarter of that game. 50. That's pretty much what he ended the game with.
Yeah.
Like, how him being that effective was part of the game plan. Hey, let's pull back and not use him as much. Like, I don't get, like, they had the Eagles on the ropes. Like, it could have been 2 straight losses, and then who knows what we're saying about the Eagles as an NFL franchise, right? You know, are they for real? Are they the best in the NFC anymore? Like, and they pulled back and didn't score, let Philadelphia stick around, who also wasn't scoring, and gave them enough chances and gave them enough time to come with the comeback. So we'll see about how he's utilized, because I mean,
yeah,
first quarter was nice. The next 3 quarters, left a lot to be desired.
So we're talking like 5 running backs.
Yeah. And I mean, so I'm sure somebody will throw in a 1 here or 1 there, maybe here, but like
Travis Etienne, maybe
you can. I mean, I think that's a
argument.
fair name to throw into the conversation. I'm not going to be
Kenneth Walker.
Ken Walker, yeah, you got to throw him in.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the bye, but yeah, you got to throw him in.
So yeah, top 10 easily, and he's probably somewhere in that 6 to 8 range any given week.
And the best part is with Tony Pollard is he never has to be a 20, 25 touch a game guy. They do still have Zeke, and Zeke is still good for certain things. I mean, there was one
twice.
touch. Yeah, and there was one series, I think it was in the first quarter, if I'm remembering correctly. They were on the goal line. They tried Tony Pollard twice. Tony Pollard gets stuffed. He's not in there. And they go, all right, we're going to bring out the big boy now. And Zeke just plows right through. And I'm not getting, a lot of people said, Dallas has now proven that they can be a Super Bowl contender. And I think someone said it. I think I might have, can't remember where I heard it now, unfortunately. Somebody said they have the highest ceiling of any team in the league, but they may also have the lowest floor. So, I mean, you saw the highest ceiling against the Vikings. You saw everybody playing at their best all at the same time. And you saw the level of talent that Dallas has. But I think they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not going to proclaim them in the playoffs yet, because there's still a lot of season to play. And tomorrow is Thanksgiving. And I have been sad on many of a Thanksgiving watching the Dallas Cowboys play. So I am not putting, but I think they have a very good chance of getting into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think that's a very dangerous 2-headed combo, because you can get Tony Pollard wearing you out, stretching you, big plays. And then all of a sudden, here comes the hammer. Here comes Zeke pounding his way through short yardage, goal line, 3rd down, where he is still a very good pass blocker, but he can catch the ball as well.
Yep.
And I think in a playoff situation, that's a kind of 2-headed monster that can win you a game maybe in a cold weather situation like a Philadelphia, or, can also just wear you out, if Dak isn't on or CeeDee Lamb isn't on. So it'll be very interesting to see, but tomorrow's going to be an interesting game, because that's an NFC East battle, and
division games, man.
They're always I mean, the Commanders beat the Eagles, the previously undefeated Eagles, so it's crazy. But here's one from Puff Pass Kick. How about Jamal Williams? He's my good for the week. Listen, I have loved Jamal Williams, and if you have ever listened to this show, you know my love for Jamal Williams. I loved him in Green Bay. I think I loved him even more once he went to Detroit.
Yeah.
Because he's the type of dude that just loves the game. He has so much passion, and that is so infectious, especially on a team like Detroit that has not won a lot over the last 2 seasons that he's been there. It's very easy for a team that loses a lot to kind of you sink down and you're just going through the motions and you're like, man, get me out of here, get me to the off season. I want to go home. I want to see friends. I want to see family. And you saw it on Hard Knocks. You see it during games. You see it anytime they have a live mic somewhere. He's just like, come on, let's go. Let's keep the energy up. Let's keep fighting. And I love that dude. And he just keeps producing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's like, oh man, DeAndre Swift. Yeah, you have Jamal Williams there, but like he's not DeAndre Swift. And they don't play a similar game, by the way. I'm not saying he is, but production wise, have you really missed a beat?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy scored. I mean, I said Tony Pollard scores touchdowns at will. I mean, he's reading. Tony Pollard is reading from the Jamal Williams playbook because has he had a game in the last month where he hasn't scored multiple touchdowns? I mean,
doesn't feel like it.
It
Was he got
doesn't
12
feel
on the season or something, 11 on the season?
yeah,
It's
I mean,
ridiculous.
Good for him, man.
Yeah, hopefully you got a good deal on him maybe the last couple of weeks as Swift was coming back. If you're a playoff team, maybe somebody wanted to bail and get whatever value they could, assuming that Swift was going to take over again. So I think he'll be a good part of a lot of playoff teams.
I'll say this. I made a meteoric rise in Scott Fishbowl and snuck into the playoffs. And one of the reasons why was because of Jamal Williams. I'm not even going to lie and say that. But Jamal Williams is always the type of guy that I love getting in a Scott Fishbowl situation. It's like, okay, you're never going to pay a high pick for him.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, he just sits on your bench all season and he does nothing because DeAndre Swift is healthy and getting the lion's share of the touches. But man, if the guy in front of him gets hurt, Jamal Williams has no problem showing out, and he has been doing it this year. I love that one, Puff. I love that one. That's a very good one. But now, Drew, we got to sink our heads a little bit, and we got to get into some of the bad from Week 11.
Man, I was expecting a big stat line from Saquon this week, going against the Lions team that for a lot of the season has given up a lot of points. The Giants have had some really, really good wins this year, controlling the ball, letting Saquon do his thing. And 15 rushes for 22 yards was hard to look at. And, it's tough because I'm happy for the Lions winning a couple games in a row. Feels like they're getting some things together here. Some unreal plays on defense. Aiden Hutchinson with ridiculous interception. I don't know that I really blame Daniel Jones for that one. It probably wasn't a great decision. Not a high percentage chance it was going to get to the receiver, but the interception itself was just a ridiculously athletic play. But for all the good that Saquon has done this last week, it looked like he was set up to have a really solid week. And to see that in a couple of leagues, that's tough. I sat DeAndre Swift this week because I knew Saquon was going to do his thing, and would have had a much closer matchup had I switched it out. But yeah, it's 1 week. I'm not down on Saquon for the rest of the season by any means. I think we said it last week. A healthy Saquon is such a difference maker for his own performance, for the team. So hopefully he bounces back and gets back into rhythm this week. But yeah, last week was definitely a letdown from Saquon.
Yeah, and it's tough because when you have a guy who's playing as well as he's been playing, I mean, there's no way that you go, doesn't matter what the matchup is. You go, all right, he'll be fine. He'll figure out a way to get his. And that game was just kind of bad for the Giants overall. Detroit, who we were just talking about, came in there and really put the beat down on them. It was a little shocking, to be honest, because the Giants have been that team that just figures out how to win, right? They don't have the talent. They shouldn't have 6 wins right now or 7 wins. I can't remember how many wins they have now, 6 or 7. They shouldn't have that many, but they do. and it's because of grit, determination, good coaching. Um, and this week it didn't work out. The talent kind of almost caught up to him, but I wouldn't be shocked if if Saquon comes out on Thanksgiving and he feasts a little bit.
I hope so.
He has a little turkey, he has a little stuffing. Put some gravy on those mashed potatoes. I think as much as I really like the Cowboys defense, I think that Dayball is going to make that a point of emphasis. Okay, we messed up last time, but we're not going to mess up twice in a row. So it'll be interesting to see how Saquon is deployed. All right, so here's my bad. I'm actually going to keep with the theme here of Dallas Cowboys. And you would think, man, you win 40-3. Who was bad? Who could have been bad? Starting tight end Dalton Schultz. Three receptions for 22 yards. Look, I made mention of this during the offseason. I did not believe in the Dalton Schultz hype. He has one double-digit game this year, double-digit fantasy point game and half-point PPR. That's not good. That's not good. And I think this was a big reason why he was franchised and not given a long-term deal, because I think that the Cowboys kind of knew that, but also didn't want to leave themselves in a position where, you're relying on the Peyton Hendershots of the world to get you through an entire season. So Dalton Schultz, it's funny. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. In a big win like that, you expect your starting tight end to have more than 3 for 22. And listen, who knows? Maybe the Cowboys go, all right, we're gonna use Dalton Schultz a little bit more to attack the Giants defense. But they didn't do it against Minnesota, and that was a game where, they literally did. I think they scored on their first 7 or 8 possessions. So, that's it. I will point out the bad on my real life team, because I think it's important to not be biased, to give the whole picture. So that's my bad. But Drew, we gotta do it, dude. We gotta get ugly here. Who is your ugly of week 11?
Yeah, I'll start nitpicking my team once we win a couple Super Bowls. Till then, it's all roses, man. I thought you were going the other side of the ball for that game, but I'm going to go with for my ugly, another team that only scored 3 points. The starting quarterback had a appalling response to an interview question in the press conference, which makes no surprise that he will not be starting this week. But Zach Wilson, what an ugly from kickoff through departure. 9 for 22, 77 yards, could not get points on the board. You saw Garrett Wilson call his team out, wanting better. I don't know how, as a franchise quarterback, you don't have the wherewithal to understand how you support your defense through time of possession, through scoring. I would have to believe if Russ Wilson was at the podium, he would at least say the right thing. You saw a stat, I think, this week that if they could score, was it 17 or 18 points, they'd be 8-2 or something as a franchise, the Broncos. But yeah, just a terrible performance there from Zach Wilson. I think proving a lot of folks who are out on him early right. I think I took a lot of early shots because he was sitting there and later in the first round in some super flex drafts, and just thinking, hey, early draft capital, I'll sit this guy. He'll be my fourth quarterback, and the upside, the return on that'll be huge. And it's looking like the opposite end of that equation is coming my way in a lot of cases. But not just the performance, but then also afterwards. Did not feel like a lot of leadership and responsibility and ownership in that game.
Yeah, and I actually, it was crazy the response to that question, because you hear guys all the time, especially after losses. I didn't do enough. I didn't help my team enough. I need to do better. Even we need to do better. Even sometimes you'll hear like an Aaron Rodgers quarterback. He may not say I need to do better, but he'll say we need to do better as an offense. For Zach Wilson to just go, I didn't fail anybody. 2 yards, 2 in the second half. Someone broke it down. They averaged like
inches,
2.4 inches per play in the second half. Or maybe it was 3.4 inches per play in the second half. Think about that. 3 inches. And a lot of people sit on the couch and go, I could do what so-and-so just did. But man, Drew, I think we got a real legitimate shot to average 3 inches a play. I'm not setting the bar high. I couldn't go out there and say I could average 3 yards a play. That would be silly. That would be ridiculous.
No.
But 3 inches a play? I think we may have that in us. 3 inches a play. We may have that in us. I mean, that was a crazy answer, though, to that question. The obvious right answer. I mean, and this is obvious. Yeah, I didn't do enough to help our team win today. And you know what? Everyone in that locker room would have been like, he gets it. He understands. He has awareness of what's going on around him. Just be like, nope. Our 2 yards of offense that I lead is adequate. It's fine. It doesn't hurt us in any way. That's crazy. And I traded for him. I traded for him in a trade addicts league.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a team that I'm totally blowing up, ripping it down to the studs. And I took Zach Wilson back in the trade because he was young.
Mm-hmm.
I said, listen, he's young. This was before the Breece Hall injury. He has Breece Hall. He has Garrett Wilson. He has Corey Davis. He has Tyler Conklin. He has a good offensive line. They have built an offense that if they have a quarterback come in and just do fine, not elite, not top 3 in the league, just average, they can be okay on offense. And Zach Wilson led them to 2 yards in the second half.
Going back to last week, what would Taylor Heineke do with that team?
Oh, dude. Oh, Garrett, we'd be talking about Garrett Wilson as one of the best wide receivers in the league. We would. Because, by the way, Garrett Wilson is one of the best rookie wide receivers of this season. I can't even spit it out. He's been that good. With Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson as his quarterback. Think about that.
Yep.
We always talk about, oh, wow, this wide receiver has a bad quarterback. And we say it with DJ Moore, right? Mm-hmm. DJ Moore can't succeed because he's had the Kyle Allens and the broken down Cam Newtons and the PJ Walkers and the Sam Darnolds of the world. Garrett Wilson is doing well for a rookie with Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson. Talk about like a quarterback combination that you don't want to have if you're a wide receiver. And he's doing well as a rookie.
I think Mike White's going to have a game this week.
Oh, Mike White. Mike White is going for like 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, Garrett Wilson's going off. We might even see the awakening of Elijah Moore. Remember him? You remember him? He might wake up.
I like that guy still.
I like him too. I don't want to anymore because I don't know what I'm hoping that and I've actually been thinking about this. I hope this is a Brandon Ayuk situation. Year 2, he got in the doghouse for some reason. He had to fight his way out. And now this season, we see Brandon Ayuk, a much bigger part of that San Francisco 49ers offense. And I'm hoping in 2023, we see the same thing. Elijah Moore got himself into the doghouse for some reason, you know, and you have the Robert Saleh, Kyle Shanahan connection there. So maybe, we're getting some of the same stuff. Got himself in the doghouse. He fights his way out 2023. You got Garrett Wilson on one side. You got Elijah Moore on the other side. You got Breece Hall in the backfield. You got somebody who's not Zach Wilson at quarterback. Maybe it's Mike White. Maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. But, like, but, yeah, I mean, I think Mike White's going to have a game too. I can't wait for it. It should be a lot of fun. But let me get to my ugly. And before anyone jumps on me about my ugly, I am going to explain myself. My ugly's name is Kadarius Toney. I remember all the people. Kadarius Toney got traded to the Chiefs. R.I.P. the rest of the league. Kadarius Toney is that dude. And I've been listening to the Kadarius Toney is that dude talk since the draft season last year. Or I'm sorry, 2 years ago, I guess, technically. And I watch it and I go, he's a great gimmick player, but what else is he? And then he's been in the league. He had that huge game against my Cowboys, by the way, for the Giants. And then spent the rest of the season in the blue tent. What did we see last week? Oh, Kadarius Toney, get your popcorn. We told you. And I said, but don't people notice is what Kadarius Toney does? He has that one big game to build up all your confidence. And then his faulty hamstrings take it all away. Listen, Kadarius Toney might be a nice guy. I don't know him personally, so this is not a personal attack on Kadarius Toney. But haven't we seen this enough? The man is a walking soft tissue injury. He's going to have this one game every, 5-10 weeks? And then the rest of the season, you're just going to be like, oh, God, you remember when Kadarius Toney had that one good game? And by the way, you can cue this up for the talking points going into the 2023 season. Kadarius Toney had that one big game. You remember, guys? The one, he's going to go off this year. He's going to be great. Listen, you can have all the faith in Kadarius Toney if you want to, and that's fine. But it's not going to be me. It ain't going to be me. You can keep your Kadarius Toney. I laughed when the Giants took him. I was happy when the Giants took him. Was proven right on that one. And the Chiefs gave up a couple of day 2, day 3 picks. So whatever. They're that's what they are. They're going to be fine. They're not going to miss those picks. Those picks, they do draft well, but I mean, they're not going to be like, oh man, we really messed up sending. I think it was a 3rd and a 4th to the Giants. They're not going to sweat that. So, but yeah, Kadarius Toney, dude, he had nothing in that game before the injury. I think the injury took place in the second quarter, if I'm remembering that game correctly. He had nothing. So it's not even like you could say, well, he kind of like Odell did in the Super Bowl, where Odell was like 3 for
Mhm.
50 before he got hurt. I could even listen to that conversation and go, all right, like he was averaging, you know, 18 yards a reception before he got hurt. But he had zero. He had a zero spot. And that's going to be the thing with the Kansas City wide receiver room all season. And that's what it's been the first 10 weeks of the season. You have Travis Kelce as your tight end, who's your main pass catcher. And then whoever decides to be a dude that week. Maybe it's Juju. Maybe it's Kadarius Toney. Maybe it's Mecole Hardman. Maybe it's yeah.
Could be
This guy.
MVS, could be Scott Moore.
Right. So, we'll see this. I want to throw one of the comments up there. You could pick either of the last two that Puff Pass Kick put up there. This was a good one. A walking soft tissue injury. Wow, so cold, but unfortunately so true. Listen, Puff Pass Kick. My style is just being honest. And even though we're talking about opinions here, I am loud and proud with all of them. Sometimes they end up well, and sometimes they end up poorly. But Kadarius Toney never really leapt off the screen, in the pre-draft process for me.
He couldn't.
Right. He has no hamstrings. Yeah. Good point, Drew.
Yeah. He's more of a limping soft tissue injury.
Also true. But like sometimes you have to understand, and all the medically trained people who I respect a lot will say there's no such thing as injury prone. And by the way, I 100% believe that. So this isn't they're stupid and I'm not, because obviously when it comes to medical things, they are going to be infinitely more smart than I am. But they're just players that get injured more than others. And we've seen it with players, we've talked about, every year we go into the draft. All right, who do you like? Where do you like them? And there's always a guy or two that you go, man, I really like him, but I can't take him, maybe with a 3rd round pick because he's always injured. I got to take him with a 5th round pick or a 6th round pick because I can't afford to waste the 3rd on a guy that may miss 10 games. So that's what it is. But that was the good, the bad, and the ugly. Drew, do you want to open up the old inbox and look at some trades?
Yeah, we got a couple sitting in there for a league that Josh and I decided to jump into, one of the safe leagues, do an auction draft last spring, and things have not gone quite as we had hoped.
Not hot garbage.
We're toward the bottom here. Herbert got injured, which didn't help us for a little bit. Running back situation here. Javonte got hurt early on. We actually had what I consider was a pretty solid draft out of the deal here, but we are sitting here right now, second from the bottom. So we're drawing. I think they do potential points for this, so let me just double check here. But we're drawing somewhere around.
But we don't have our 1st round pick. We
don't have the 102. We'll have the 202 at this point.
Yep.
So we've got an offer from the 6th place team, who is kind of on the fringe, and we'll start with his here. He's looking at sending us Cade Otton, rookie tight end for the Bucks, his 1st and 2nd next year, which presumably will be in the bottom half if this move works out for him. And he'd like us to send over one Deontay Johnson and an injured Dallas Goedert.
All right, so hold on here. What I'm going to do while you're reading out these trades is I am going to run them through DTC just to get a baseline
Yeah.
This is not going to be the end all be all on what we um, decide, but I like using this as a good starting point to say, are we in the ballpark? Are we too far away? What can be added? What can be taken away?
Yeah.
So on our side, Deontay Johnson and Dallas Goedert would be the players we're giving up. And according to DTC, we are giving up 51.9 points of value.
For any listeners that are not familiar with the Safe Leagues format here, this is a 12-team Superflex league, start 10, full PPR, and then 2 points per reception for tight ends. So pretty heavy tight end premium here.
Yeah.
So we landed with Goddard after missing out on a couple of the higher end guys. So we wanted to make sure we got somebody who had a chance to be, a top 3 tight end any given week, and we felt pretty good there. And now, obviously, with where Jalen Hurts has been this year, we felt very good most weeks going into that with Dallas Goedert there. So, and then of course Deontay Johnson, friend of the show, be another tough one to part with. Honestly, 50s feels a little high to me. I was thinking we'd be in the 42 range ish, like maybe 25 and 20.
Well,
based on the settings.
Dallas Goedert alone is 33 points, and I think that has to do with the tight end premium.
Yep.
And the fact that he's only 27.
He is.
He's young for the tight end position and has been producing, and the tight end premium obviously boosts him up.
Yeah.
So on the other side, the first round pick, the second round pick, and Cade Otton come out to 39.4 points. So there's a discrepancy there, so to speak. So what are you thinking here, Drew? On its face, forget what I just told you, and maybe on future deals that we talk about on this show, I won't give you the points first. I'll give we'll chat about it and then decide then I'll give the points to see if it kind of matches up with what we're thinking. But just on its face, forget that you heard the points. What did you think when you initially saw this deal?
It's not that far off for me. I think where I landed originally is that I wish that this league format gave us some more future picks, because I would have, if that was a 24 first instead of 23 second, I think I'd be more apt to do it. Gives us a couple of shots in the next couple of years. I'm looking at Sand Section's team here as well. He's got Mahomes and he's got Watson about to come back from suspension. So I think he's hoping for a big lift there in the playoffs at quarterback. Just lost Melvin Gordon to free agency. So he's got David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs. Samaje Perine, who's had a couple of good games lately, especially depending on what happens with Mixon this week in concussion protocol. He's got Algier and James Cook as rookies that it could be spot starters. And then you go to his wide receivers, Mike Evans, Jarvis Landry, Tyler Lockett, Khalil Shakir. So I can see why he wants a little Deontay Johnson in his team. And then tight end, he's got a couple of guys that have put up some decent results lately, and Juwan Johnson. David Njoku is flashing a little bit, and he's got George Kittle. So I see he's looking to make that move for wide receiver now, get that what he assumes will be a lift from Deshaun Watson when he comes back. So, but I still think there's a chance. I'm looking at overall, he is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's exactly the sixth place, sixth in points for as well. So he is middle of the pack. So I don't know that I see, at 6 and 5, he'd have to have quite a few things go right to get that draft pick to drop a ton next year in 2023. So I don't hate it. I would like to have either another piece that we like, maybe a young guy that has some upside. If he had an Isaiah McKenzie to throw into this deal with us to give us something back, which I think in this league we may actually have him. I'm not sure, but somebody like that, I would be more apt to do it. I'm close though. I'm probably 60-40 no to yes on this one.
All right, so I'm actually a lot further away than you are, and here's my reason why. I just looked it up on Fantasy Pros while you were talking. So through week 11, and by the way, Dallas Goedert didn't play this week due to injury, and has had a bye. You know, the Eagles have had their bye already, so he hasn't played for 2 weeks. He is currently tight end 5. He is 2 points off of Zach Ertz, who unfortunately was another player that didn't play this week due to injury.
Yep.
But 6 is Pat Freiermuth, a player that I love immensely. He is, even with the 2-week disadvantage, he is 15 points ahead of Pat Freiermuth. And he didn't play last week. So my thing is that, do I want to give up a young tight end for Cade Otton, who to me is nothing? That's a 0 piece right there. Because let's face it, who's the quarterback there next year? Blaine Gabbert, Jimmy Garoppolo, Daniel Jones. There ain't going to be nobody on the level of Tom Brady. So Cade Otton is a 0 for me. And then a first and a second for a young, ascending tight end. And listen, Deontay's fallen off. I get that. But to me, that Dallas Goedert on his own is a 1, is worth a 1+. Now, if you tell me that, and I don't know if we can because I have not looked at his picks yet, if we can change that 23 second into a 24 first, sign me up. That's where I go, okay, now I can start looking at this deal and seeing if there's little tweaks that I want to make to it. But past that, I'm not interested, because it stinks that I felt like we did really well drafting, and you know, Javonte got injured, and we did kind of go like hero RB. So when your hero gets hurt, it's not going well. And then, you know, we had Herbert, and then we traded him for Lamar Jackson because Herbert was struggling. I thought we had a mass of wide receivers that would just make up the difference. Deontay was one of them, and he hasn't been doing what he was doing the previous years. Now, if this was Zach Ertz, and I know Zach Ertz is out the whole season, so it's kind of not a fair comparison, but let's just say Zach Ertz was going to be out 4 weeks, like we think Dallas Goedert's going to be. A 32, 33-year-old tight end? Okay, yeah, sure, let's do it. But I got 6 more years of, even if you, let's not even say 6. That might be asking for a lot for him to be top 5 until he's 33. But 3 more years of a top 5 guy? I don't know if I just want to give that up for a mid-first, a mid-second, and a guy that I think is a 0. That's just my personal opinion. So I think we're both okay with countering, but what are we okay with countering with? Because I kind of gave my
I'm looking here, and you know, he's looking for points. I think if we looked at, you know, replace Dallas Goedert with somebody who has been performing the last couple of weeks with an Austin Hooper, and he can keep, you know, I'm fine taking a shot on Cade Otton, young tight end. I mean, we did that. We drafted Brevin Jordan late, seeing if he'd pan out, which is what it is. So I could really go either way on whether we take the unknown of K Dot next year or the unknown of a later second. It's like Deontay and an Austin Hooper for a first and a second.
So sell him Deontay and Austin Hooper. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
Either
I'm
get the
down
first and the second, or I would probably settle for first and K Dot.
all right.
I could probably switch either of those around. I'm not saying that K Dot is worth the second. I think the second is more valuable. But ultimately, for me, that would be give me a 2023 first for Deontay Johnson.
All right, let's see. So just to confirm, because I put it in the calculator here, Deontay and Austin Hooper for K Dot and a first
And a mid first.
a mid first. All right. So we would be giving up 21 points of total value against 30 points for K Dot and a mid first.
Okay.
So I don't
swing the pendulum back a little further the other way.
Yeah, and I don't mind doing that because my thing is that I think you get, and this league is different because there is a trade deadline. But I think if you're the 6th seed, you need to swing for the fence. Like if your goal is to amass points to win, and not just win this year, but win for multiple years. I mean, Deontay's only 26. Could he go down the Juju path? He sure can, because nobody thought Juju was going to go down that path, and he has. What if this is just a 1-year blip on the radar, and you bought DeAndre for? I mean, you have to assume Kenny Pickett's going to get better next year, right? Just kind of natural progression.
As long as he's not another Zach Wilson.
Yeah, he ain't looked that good either, to be honest with you. But maybe Matt Canada goes back to Canada and they get a competent offensive coordinator, and their general manager finally decides to maybe pick up an offensive lineman or two. Things could be different. So this could just be a 1-year blip for Deontay Johnson, and he goes back. And that's a guy that if he does go back to being what he is, a first-round pick is a steal. It's not, because think about it. At the end of last season, you probably wouldn't have been able to get Deontay for a first.
Probably not.
It would have been a first plus. So if you get him for a first and he gets back to what he is, you stole. And those are the kind of moves, when you're that 6th place team, if you're going for it, if it's all in for the championship, you got to overpay for a little bit. So I don't mind sending this as a as a counter.
So does it? What's the value difference if we switch out K Dot for a mid 23 second?
All right, let me do that real quick. I think it's actually gonna end up being more of a discrepancy because I know
that's what I would expect.
The second is like double what K Dot is.
Okay.
So we would need 2 K Dottons to equal the second.
Okay. All right. So I'll delete the second. I'm going to replace Dallas Goedert with one Austin Hooper, who has scored like 30 points or 35 points in the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 for 2. K Dot in a first, Deontay Johnson and Austin Hooper. Sent.
I like it. Boom, we're just knocking these out.
Okay. The next one we got here is from the first place team.
Oh.
So they are looking at some running back help. They are asking about Jamal Williams, who we talked about earlier, who the time to get him from us would have been a couple weeks ago, maybe. And a Kareem Hunt, who will have Deshaun Watson
Yes.
under center. So they are working through a Khalil Herbert injury. Zeke Elliott and Antonio Gibson are their top two running backs right now. Oh, just kidding. They also have Tony Pollard, who we talked about earlier. So I think they're just looking at some depth here, and they're trying to get some depth relatively cheap. And they've recently lost Kyle Pitts, which, let's be real, for this season has not been a significant loss. They've still got Cole Kmet, who's been coming on here. So I'm a little surprised they're not coming after a tight end as well. But they've sent us a couple of offers, including one that includes Austin Hooper. They're offering us their second, third, and fourth. So right now, the 112, I'm sorry, yeah, the 212, the 312, and the 412 for our Kareem Hunt, Jamal Williams, and Austin Hooper, which for me is not close. I think you're muted still.
Could have swore I hit that button, but yeah, stop that. We're not doing that. That's crazy talk.
Yeah, I think when you're going for all of it there, I mean, if you're looking at those three guys, I don't know. Am I crazy to ask for the 112 at this point for those guys if they're trying to make that push to win it all?
For all three?
Yeah.
Well, let's go to the calculator and see what it says. You know me. I would not mind whatsoever grabbing a first round pick. Do they have theirs?
I'd have to take a look and see.
According to the calculator, they don't. But sometimes things don't come over.
Oh, you have it where it links up? Good
Yeah.
for you. Nice.
Well, you know,
Nicely
I try. I try really hard.
Yeah, they do not. They just have their second, third, and fourth.
All right. Do they have their 24 first?
We don't get those in this league until 2023. So you only have next year's.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So we need to be a little bit more creative, which is fine. I like creativity. So let's look at what is going on and let's.
What's the value difference between Kareem Hunt and Jamal Williams at this point? I got to think Kareem Hunt's probably worth a little bit more.
He's actually worth like almost double.
Okay.
Which this is going to be one of those situations where I don't think the calculator is going to give us kind of like what we're looking for. Because, I mean,
you have an age difference.
Jamal Williams, according to the calculator, is worth like, hold on here, is worth
5,
like a third plus.
Okay.
Which, if this was week 1, I would say I get it. But like what we've seen Jamal Williams do and what his worth is to a contender, it's not a third plus. It's at least a second. And if we're talking about 212, it's a second plus.
Okay.
In my opinion. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but that's where I'm standing. If you're trying to win the chip, I don't think a second plus is like crazy. So let's see here. I'm like trying to look for players that would work with us, but like also that are reasonable.
So yeah, I'm looking at a guy like a Khalil Herbert who's injured for a few weeks.
I like that.
I think they're probably depending on Hollywood coming back this week. So they're in great shape in wide receiver with Hollywood, T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Mike Williams limping along. I don't think we're going to touch any of those guys with the players they're asking for.
All right, let's see here. I got something going here, but let's see what the numbers say. Oh, that is not the player I clicked on. I'm sorry. It gave me a player I did not click on, so I want to go back here so that I'm giving you accurate information. Don't want to deceive you or the people.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rest of their roster. I don't know. There's a whole lot that makes sense otherwise, unless we want to see if they want to give up like a Jimmy G or a Jared Goff. Since we are aging at quarterback with Rodgers, we have Taylor Heineke, which is fun. So I don't know if that's something that you want to maybe make a swap there and see if like Jared Goff is the 101 gets a third chance somewhere else or a fourth chance somewhere else.
Yeah, but don't we kind of know what Jared Goff is? Like Jared Goff is fine, but like I would either. So here's my thing about when I'm trying to quote unquote rebuild, or I like the way they say it on the Junkies retool.
Mm-hmm.
I either want a guy, obviously previous to all this stuff, but a guy like Zach Wilson, where it's like young and you can at least hope for upside, or I want to pick like a Jimmy Garoppolo. Is he going to go somewhere next year? Sure, he is. Does that mean he's going to be any better than he is now? Oh, maybe. I don't know. Jared Goff, same thing. Like, can he get a job somewhere next year? Sure, but like, is he the quarterback of the Falcons next year? Like, and then are you still just like, oh, please give me Jared Goff? He's the new quarterback of the Falcons. This is going to be great. Or is he like the next in the long line of quarterbacks for the Indianapolis Colts? Like, so I don't like grabbing those guys in rebuilds because, like, yeah, you're going to flame out on your guys like Zach Wilson and stuff like that. But, like, another young guy that people were probably trying to grab was Justin Fields because he had a garbage year and had a garbage, like, first 4 weeks of the season. And now we're all like, Justin Fields is, man, he's going to be a top 8 quarterback next year in Superflex, so I like at quarterback in a Superflex league, I'd rather shoot my bullets at those kind of guys. But so I threw something together here and tell me what you think. So Kareem Hunt, Jamal Williams, Austin Hooper for Khalil Herbert and a 2023 second. Now, I will preface this by saying that right now in the calculator, they only have picks as mid. There is no high, low, So
yeah, except for first round, right?
Yeah, except for first round. So this is a mid 2023 second, so we can kind of adjust it accordingly. But if we gave up Hunter, wow, where did I read that from? Kareem Hunt, Jamal Williams, and Austin Hooper. Maybe I just combined Kareem Hunt and Austin Hooper there. For Khalil Herbert and a 2023 second, we would be giving up 13.6 points in value. He would be giving up 14.1 points in value. So very close. Now we could probably knock off.
Throw the third in. I would throw the third in as well.
You would throw the third in as well. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're the first place team trying to.
All right. And it doesn't really, it ups it to like 15.7.
Yeah.
So it's not like a huge imbalance. So what would you think about a trade like that? Hunt, Williams, and Hooper for Herbert, a second, and a third.
I'm definitely open to it because, some of those guys that you're talking about, I think Kareem Hunt out of that group is the only guy that probably has any foreseeable value for us as we retool. So whether it's next year or the year after, I think Jamal Williams will just continue to lose value over time, meaning this season. So him, Austin Hooper, I could see Austin Hooper. I know there was a lot of expectation for him going to Atlanta. Having an opportunity there. So he's one of those guys that probably is annoyingly good every now and then, which if we get to keep Dallas Goedert and if we end up getting Cade Otton, I think if we can get Cade Otton in the first to happen, then I would absolutely make this trade pretty easily. If we don't have a lot of other picks, if we don't have a first to reload somewhere, like get a running back or something like that, I think we'd be kind of deciding next year early on which direction we want to go, especially depending on how Javonte comes back from that injury.
Yeah, and I think too, obviously it's harder to get picks during the off season. That's when they accrue the most value. But if Devonta Smith or Deontay Johnson ends the season, like 3-4 games just on a tear, they just blow up, right? Whenever the trade window opens, like, God, do you remember what he did the last 3 games? The last year, he was crazy. He was really good. And sometimes you can't get people to go, you know what, here's my first man. I got to have all of that. So I want to ask you a fun question, though, before I give my opinion on this. And I don't know if you're looking at anything right now, but who's older, Kareem Hunt or Jamal Williams?
I expect it to be Jamal Williams. My guess would be Hunt's in that 26, 27 range. Jamal Williams is either on the back end of 27 or early into 28.
They are both 27 years old.
Okay.
I thought for sure Jamal Williams was like a year or two older than Hunt. And what I love about DTC, among many things I love about DTC, is that they throw the age up right up there when you put them into the calculator. And I was like, wow, they're both 27. Because like we're talking about the fact that that Hunt has this value because, well, he can go to another team next year and be the guy. But then it's like, that's like 28-year-old Kareem Hunt trying to be the guy. You know how we feel about, running backs once they get past like 25, 26. We're like, don't touch, don't do that. So I do like, and I love Jamal Williams. Like, it hurts me to say that I'd like to get rid of him, but in this situation, this is probably the highest his value is ever going to be.
Yeah.
And we have to capitalize on that. Khalil Herbert is 24 years old. Wherever that second round pick ends up is probably going to be a guy who is in the 21 to 23-year-old range.
Yep.
That's what we need on this team. This team is not good.
Yep.
And not that it's not good, but it's not performing. And we need young men to come up and, hopefully boost us up for years to come. So I know you mentioned that if the first trade went through the Cade Otton and the first for Deontay Johnson and Austin Hooper, if that trade went through, you would love that. And I think, depending on what happens, I think we could even amend this deal if that deal did go through and just cut off the third and still give up Hunt and Williams for Herbert and the second. And I would be fine with that. And if someone wants to, let's see cool. What else on it.
I'm sending it back. We're gonna do, again, the trade deadline's tomorrow kickoff. So these guys need to make some choices. So I think this is a co-managed team as well.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to do the exact same counter on both. I'm not going to change anything on either side except for add Khalil Herbert to both packages.
Okay.
And let them choose if they want to do just the 2 running backs from us or if they want the 2 running backs plus Hooper.
Gotcha.
And then we'll see how they respond. All right, we went from 3 in the inbox to 3 in the outbox.
Oh, let's go. All right. So I will, in full transparency here, Drew, I went into all of my leagues or almost all of my leagues and said, hey, looking for trades for the show, send them my way. Maybe we can get something done. So this is in a league that we're both in. So hopefully I get your unvarnished opinion. You don't try to sway me. down a bad path here. But this is in Superflex Army 2. Obviously, our boy Bill McCarthy is in there with us. But you and I, we do not co-own a team in this one. We own separate teams. So currently, record-wise, I am 7th. However,
out of 14.
Out of 14. However, points-wise, I'm 3rd.
Oof.
Now, I believe, and
there's a spot for you, right?
I think it's like top 4 records and then like top 2 points or something like that. Or maybe it's top 5 records and most points. I don't remember 100%, but I think that as long as I keep my lead right now, which is 75, 76 on the next highest scoring player that is not in, I'm in, whether it's top 1 or top 2 point scorers get in. So I should be fine.
Oh,
so
man. It looks like it's just the top 6.
Oh, really? I thought there was one for most points.
I'm reading, I think the OG League is that way. The first round of the playoffs will be played during the NFL Week 14. Actually, should Week 14, right? 14, 15, 16. Or it should be 15, 16, 17. Either way,
whatever.
Seeds 3 and 6 will match up. 4 and 5 will play each other. Because I think the first and second get a bye.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He does have it here. Yeah. Playoff schedule. Yeah. Starting in week 15, 3 and 6, 4 and 5. Then the first 2. See, 6 teams will make the playoffs. The tiebreakers are done the following. Top 4 seeds will be the 4. Oh, nope. You're right. There it is. The 5th and 6th playoff seeds will go to the next 2 teams with the highest total points.
Okay. So
you're in good shape.
I'm good because if we go by that, then the top 4. All right. So the 5th place based on record is 99 points behind me.
Yep. And 6th place is 180 points behind you.
Right. So barring a collapse because playoffs have not started yet.
Yep.
I am looking good. Kind of like my Dallas Cowboys. I'm not locked in, but I am looking good for a playoff spot.
Okay.
So I have a trade in my inbox, and I want to talk this out with you and see what you think. So this is from our boy Papa Trees.
Okay. New to the league, took over for a team, right?
Yep, took over
Making
for
some
a team.
moves. I love that.
He's been wheeling and dealing. He has been trying to set himself up for future success.
Okay.
He would give me the aforementioned Jared Goff. He would give me Indianapolis's own Jonathan Taylor. And he would give me a 2024 second-round pick from our friend and brother, Bill McCarthy at Super Duper Flex, which Bill has been killing it in this league. So most likely in 2024, that would be a late 2024 first.
Okay.
So I would have to give up the injured Javonte Williams.
Okay.
My boo thing, Garrett Wilson.
Mm.
Yeah, you see, you kind of like I'm. And a 2024 first round pick. So I want you to give me your opinion on its face. What are you thinking about this deal?
So you get Goff, JT, and a 24 second to
Correct.
Giving up Javonte, Garrett Wilson, and a 24 first.
Correct.
Which the drop off from that first to his second. No, it's Bill's second.
Bill's second.
So you're dropping probably a whole round there is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably at least a round.
Okay. And he wants to send you Jared Goff because you have Zach Wilson, Daniel Jones, Sam
Yeah,
Darnold.
my quarterbacks are garbage.
Okay. You have Nick Chubb. You have newly minted starter Latavius Murray,
Yes.
Elijah Mitchell, Tony Pollard, and Jamal. I feel like I've heard about these guys.
It's almost like we were talking about them leading up to this question. I didn't want to do it to you, but I kind of sort of did.
And then you've got Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson, Jarvis Landry, Devonta Smith, Garrett Wilson. That's a solid wide receiver room, my friend.
Well, you know what? Let me not lie to you. I honestly, at the beginning of this season, was trying to tear this thing to the studs because this is what we hear every fantasy analyst talk about. This was the dreaded middling team, always between kind of 6th place and 8th place, and never really going up and never really going down. And I said, dude, I want to tear this thing to the studs. You know what happened? Not one soul wanted to trade with me. They were like, yeah, I understand what you're trying to do, but that's not what I'm trying to do. So then I started scoring points, and then I started winning games, and then I've been trying to upgrade this team, but no one wants to help me do that.
Man.
So it's been a little bit of a trip with this team, but this is an interesting deal. So
yeah, I like it in principle. You've got enough as I go down the list here with Deontay and Devonta Smith. At least you maintain some youth there. Stephon Diggs should be good for another couple of years. He should be producing well. Mike Evans, I think he's another one of those guys that we just expect to fall off one of these years, but all he does is score.
Yep.
Landry, I think, is tapering. But man, I am okay to move Javonte for decent value. That is, I think when I look at the injury and the things that I've read there, if people are making that comparison to a J.K. Dobbins injury, I don't know that Javonte helps anybody a whole lot next year.
Can I be honest with you?
Always.
On my side of the deal, Javonte is the player I am most comfortable with moving.
Yep.
And I know that could be shocking to some because I have professed my love
Yep.
for Javonte on many of occasions.
Yep.
But it hurts me more to move Garrett Wilson, who I loved before the process, and picked him up damn near everywhere. And the first, those hurt me more than moving Javonte, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I wonder if you could get. It's almost like you've done this well so far. I guess because who have you been starting quarterback? You've been starting Jacoby Brissett, so you're losing that production now, or
it's been kind of a like Daniel Jones has always started.
Okay.
And then it's kind of been a like spin the roulette wheel almost between Jacoby Brissett and Zach Wilson. And now obviously Zach Wilson ain't gonna matter.
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett in another couple weeks is not gonna matter.
Yeah.
So, but here's my thing. Does Jared Goff matter?
Nope. I think if you can get, man, I don't know what his what he's open to, but depending on how much he wants Javonte, does Javonte and a second next year get you to JT or get you close? If he's trying to shed those points, set himself up. And I'm even looking here too, like on your taxi squad. I mean, you've got Bailey Zappi, who's he's played a game or two. So you just want another young quarterback. Like, great, throw him in with Javonte and a second next year. And get yourself some JT.
Yeah.
Because giving up both the 24 first, which again, you can get that back. That I think that's something that I've had to get better about is trading away future first, knowing that there are ways to get them back if you really want to get that pick back. But yeah,
Here's the
Garrett
thing.
Wilson hurts.
Here's the thing about I don't mind trading 24 first, but like, damn, I want something that I'm happy about. And it might like even JT, right? It's like, oh, but it's JT. But like, has it really been JT? Like, he's been good this year, but like I'm looking at his points in this particular league. 1, 2, 3 out of 4, 6, 8. 3 out of 8 weeks that aren't double digits in points. So almost 50% of the games that he's played in, he has
Yeah.
not got to double digits. Now,
Yeah.
he had a 25-point game against the Texans, and he had a 23-point game against the Raiders. But it's like, yeah, he beats up on the bad teams, but he doesn't really dominate against the good teams. And here's the rest of his schedule. Versus Steelers, all right, that's a bad team. At Cowboys, I think that's a good team. At Vikings, I understand they just got blown off the face of the planet, but I still think they're a good team. Versus the Chargers, that's kind of a coin flip if they're actually good or not good.
Yeah.
And then at the Giants, and they've looked really good in situations. They've looked really bad in situations. So, like, really, who is the for sure bad team that they play? The Steelers. All the rest of those teams can be good teams. Maybe they're not like a team like the Giants and a team like the Chargers. Maybe they're not minted as like for sure good teams, but like they've played well. I mean, the Chargers almost beat the Chiefs twice. Like, you have to be a good team to be, within what, a field goal, I think both times.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what scares me that's what scares me about JT is like, yeah, against the Steelers, he might put like 22 up. And then he might like score like 22 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so I don't know. So if we're going with Tress here specifically, I was just looking. He also has Elijah Moore on his team. So if you're sending Garrett Wilson and get Elijah Moore back and balance it out a little bit that way, if there's a package to put together there, I know you're not as excited about the production and so forth now, but
I feel like I feel like Elijah Moore. Does that help me win a championship this year?
Not this year, but if you get him with JT.
But that goes back to me, like, is JT helping me win a championship this year?
If you can get him and hold what else you have, then yeah, I think he has the potential. He's a league-winning talent.
He is. But let me look at his team and see if there are like other players that I personally am higher on.
I don't think so. He's got Wan'Dale Robinson, Kadarius Toney.
Wan'Dale? Oh, man. Wan'Dale. So obviously he's not going to part with a guy like Ken Walker because Ken Walker is youth and that's what you want.
Yep.
Yeah, this team is straight garbage. I mean, honestly, I know this might sound crazy, but this is something that came to my head. Javonte for Goff at a second.
Don't do that to yourself. You should get more for Javonte than that.
Am I going to get more for Javonte than that?
I think you have to look at the top of the league. I think you have to look
Here you
at
go.
somebody
Here
like
you go.
Bill for that.
You're in this league. Would you give me more for Javante?
Yes. If I had our team we're another team. So the moral of today's episode is do not co-manage with Drew because you're getting the 102.
No, we co-managing junkies, and we're a playoff team.
We are.
I'm not going to let you do that to yourself. But you know what? Let's pivot here. Let's pivot.
I mean, I've got seconds galore in this league.
Seconds galore. That sounds like the opening verse to a bad country song. What team are you?
We are the Lasso Special.
Oh, love that. Love that name. Love that. I've tried to make some trades with you, and you've been part of this conspiracy to keep me from improving or deproving my team. All right, let's see what you got. You got Fields, you rat bastard. Let's see. God, this team is not good.
This is being recorded, Josh. Just remember that.
I mean, listen. Puff Pass Kick earlier said that I'm cold, and I just say I'm honest. Not cold though, just honest.
Yeah,
Wow.
if we had another quarterback that was in that range, that's the problem. Is we're value wise we're top heavy with Fields, Kyler, and then everybody else is injured. Trey Lance is on IR. I mean, Desmond Ritter's not doing anything yet. If Mariota gets hurt and he's a starting quarterback,
right?
Would you take Ritter in a second if you're going to take Goff in a second?
No, because Goff is starting games. Goff is actually playing.
I'm just saying, if Mariota gets hurt this week and Ritter's the starter moving forward.
No, because I would need to see like what Ritter is.
Mm-hmm.
Is Ritter just Marcus Mariota 2.0, or is he actually going to kind of like open this up a little bit and like actually throw the ball to Drake London and Kyle Pitts and the guys they spent?
Not throwing anything to Kyle Pitts,
dude. I know. I don't get why, as a head coach, you spent a top 5 pick on Kyle Pitts and then spent a top 10 pick on Drake London, and then decide, you know what we're going to do? Not throw the ball. But that's another story for another day.
I think for Javante, you should be able to get more than that. I get you're not going to get the 2 firsts value.
No.
But you should be able to get a starting quarterback that is. Honestly, I think you should be able to get like, if the team's not going anywhere, you should be able to get a Kirk Cousins-ish.
Oh, you know what, Drew? You have
or a Derek Carr.
You have piqued my interest here. Who has? No, I don't want any part of it besides Josh Jacobs. I don't want any part of that Vegas.
You'd rather have Jared Goff over Derek Carr for the rest of the season?
Yes.
If the 2 offers were Jared Goff in an early second and Derek Carr in an early second, you would take the Goff offer.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Because I at least know that, Jared Goff is going to have some stinkers. I actually, as soon as I look at this, all right, I know who has Cousins. Let's see where they are in the standings. You may have just stumbled onto something here. Oh yeah, that dude ain't making the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Kevin.
Let's
talk, my man. Because he's also got J.K. Dobbins on IR.
Yeah. He could stack up. He can get his stacks up. Oh.
I mean, heck, you could get Kirk Cousins and Andy Dalton and get 2 shots at this thing.
Okay. I don't want any parts of Andy Dalton.
I'm just saying.
That dude
You're
sucks.
playing the... Does he?
Andy Dalton?
Let's see.
Yeah, let's see.
Last 6 weeks, you had a 50-50 shot of getting 20+ points from him,
from
from Andy Dalton.
okay.
Week 7, 28.5 against Arizona. Week 8, 21 against Las Vegas. Stymied against Baltimore with 11, old divisional rival. Only 3 against Pittsburgh, which also divisional rival. So division games, there's room because divisional games are tough. And then last week in LA, put up 28 points.
And you said this was what in the last how many weeks?
Last 5 or 6 weeks since he took over for Winston.
What week was that?
I think he took over in week 4 when he got injured.
And you said you had a 50-50 shot of getting a 20-point week?
Since week 6, 7, 8. 9,
Oh,
10,
since
11.
week 6.
Yep.
Yeah. You're not.
So once he got into the rhythm and starting with the ones, etc.
Reminds me of Cool Runnings. Feel the rhythm.
The
But
rhyme.
yeah, that's right. I love that movie. But you know what? I am loving this Cousins thing.
Or Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I don't know about Aaron Rodgers. Like, man, I thought they found their way after the Dallas game, and then they laid an egg against the Titans. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he
But
found
he's got a couple of older quarterbacks you go after.
But I like this Cousins thing, especially because I gotta believe that after that Cowboys debacle, he's got to be at an all-time low.
You would think.
Because after you watch that and you watch he got sacked 7 times. He didn't say he saw ghosts, but he was kind of talking about he was seeing ghosts out there.
Yeah, I'm curious what the what's the calculator say? 14 team super flex tight end premium.
It's pretty much dead even between Cousins and Javonte.
There you go.
And I'm looking at the schedule. So here's the thing. Kirk Cousins plays in prime time tomorrow.
But it's a Thursday. Does that really count?
8:20, that's prime time.
It is.
That's prime time. So this is why I'm looking at the schedule, because I do things like this. And then it never changes my mind. But I just like thinking that I'm the smartest guy in the room. Now, here's the interesting thing. It looks like the Vikings have 2 games with TBD times. And I'm wondering if they're I wonder if that's because they're Sunday night games that could get flexed or.
Yep, probably.
So
we can close with this one here because we're also in that league as well with Puff Pass Kick. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think you take a run at it, and if you prefer Cousins, start there. But maybe give him the choice. Hey, give me Rodgers or Cousins. You can have Javonte. Yeah, I know Rodgers was playing with a broken thumb, but I mean he's still putting up points. Even in his floor. I mean he's had minus week 1 against Minnesota, where it was just absolutely god awful. He's had double digits every week except for week 9, where he's at just under 10, which is pretty bad against Detroit. But he's got Philly, which is going to be a tough matchup. If he still owns the Bears, we'll see that. Rams don't scare me. Miami should be a shootout. Minnesota at home should be interesting for a championship week. So I don't hate either one of those guys for Javonte based on what you're trying to do. Keep your firsts. Keep Garrett Wilson.
Yeah. Well, so I'm setting it up, and I have to be very smart about this because I'm going to make it for 5 p.m. This has a very short shelf life because I don't want to leave this open and Kirk Cousins get hurt. So it's for tomorrow at 5 p.m.
There you go.
Javonte for Kirk Cousins, and we'll see
Then you got your super flex starters. You got your 2 quarterbacks. You've got enough starters at running back and wide receiver, and then
I start shooting them.
yeah,
I like that. All right, you want to take puff passes?
let's
on
take a
our way
look.
up? All right, so I'll pull up his team.
I'm doing a pretty terrible job at trying to get an early pick again this year.
Yeah, you keep winning these games. I'm like, man, look at Drew just beating the brakes off of people. Drew with 4 freaking wins. You're only 2 games behind me, my man.
Yeah.
I'm currently occupying the last playoff spot. But you're right there. You're in the hunt.
Am I?
I mean, listen. I mean, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 teams that have scored less points than you have. So you're the 7th highest scoring team. You're right there, smack in the middle.
How do playoffs work here? Is it straight standings or is there
Straight
points?
standings.
Okay, yeah, I got some work to do.
Hey man, it's a 2-game gap. It could be easily overcome. But let's look at the best team ever. I love the name. Another guy, Jared Goff. This guy always comes up. This Jared Goff character. Yeah.
All right, so Puff Pass Kick says here he's gotten a couple of late 23 firsts.
Gotta love it.
And he's wondering if he'd be able to compete by 2024, even if he
Tank 23.
strategically starts lesser players.
I mean, here's what I would do. I mean, and this is going to turn your entire team around, but you got Mike White on your bench. I'd be offering him to all the contenders for a third.
Mm-hmm.
Get him right off the roster. Sell while.
Yep.
Because I mean, you and I just hyped him up, or maybe you mentioned them and then I hyped them up.
Oh no, I think he's going to have a solid game.
I mean, I was like 302 touchdowns.
Yep.
And I'm sure there are other people because they remembered his first start last year, which is pretty much that's what he did. 302. I mean,
I think it's 3 touchdowns and a pick.
I mean, his jersey went to Canton because didn't he didn't he have the most amount of yards for an undrafted free agent?
I forget what it was.
In his first start in league history or something like that. So he'd be the first guy that I shove right out of the door. Let's see who else is on this team that could do something.
Yeah, took over a tough.
Yeah, this is tough because really, I mean, you got
he stripped it down to get those first. So
oh yeah, but I'm saying unfortunately to kind of to add stuff I don't think what I might try to do. You got Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yep,
he's been kind of cooking the last few weeks.
Just sent him to Bill for a third, and I want to say maybe Superflex Army too. So I'm sorry about that.
You back on another league here. I mean, yeah,
DPJ.
I would be shooting him out to all the contenders for a second.
Yeah,
get you your. I mean, he has not had a single-digit game, and I understand that that's a low bar since week 6. Yeah, I mean, he had 17 points. He had 17.1 points in this league last week against the Bills, and I understand the Bills were missing guys in the back end, but I mean, they're playing Tampa Bay. Has Tampa Bay been a defensive powerhouse this year?
Nope.
Not really.
No.
Houston, the week after that.
Nope.
Get it? And that's the return of Deshaun
Watson. Yeah.
you got the Bengals, you got Baltimore, you got New Orleans.
Yeah, a couple of
Watch.
tougher ones, but yeah, I think between DPJ, Mike White, Mike White would be my priority.
Yeah, shoot him out before anybody can see him play. Because
Yeah, it's a plus matchup. It should be a good game for them. Always a lot of hype, and like we said, we have so many pieces in place there around him that if you have a competent quarterback, somebody who's not going to just hand the game away, I really think, I think 303 touchdowns is possible if he walks out there with the same mentality as a Taylor Heineke or the same way he did last year. He's probably going to have a dumb interception along the way, or might hold on to it too long and fumble. But yeah, for the yards and the touchdown upside, I'd be selling hard on that. And maybe we have, I don't know, 14 teams, super flex, so quarterbacks are a little bit sparse, so you can definitely get a little premium there. And maybe you get somebody like Josh in the other league we're talking about, who is about to lose a Jacoby Brissett to Deshaun Watson coming back, or maybe you find Zach Wilson, manager, who was actually having to start him because of how deep this league is. So I'd be looking there. Jared Goff, sure, get what value you can there, and then DPJ. I would absolutely be trying to find matches for those three.
Yeah, try to get to see if somebody give you 2 seconds for Goff. Start there, and listen. The great thing about this league is there's no trade deadline. So if a top 3 guy all of a sudden loses somebody, that's when you really swoop in and go, listen.
I mean, let's just see here. So J Money Jarrett, he is stacked.
Yeah, he's a monster.
But I mean, his second quarterback right now is Geno Smith and Matthew Stafford, who's out.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on that situation there. Not that he could go and he could pivot to a Leonard Fournette. He could pivot to a George Pickens to get into the super flex too. So it's not like he'd be hurting and he has to have a quarterback. But those are the types of teams that you want to.
Here's another one. Jay Snake is third.
Yep.
Jacoby Brissett is one of his quarterbacks.
There it is.
He ain't gonna have Jacoby Brissett in a couple weeks.
Yep.
So see what he wants to do with a Jared Goff.
I love that. And he's got, he's got 24 first. Even at this rate, if you whatever you have to do to get to that 24 first.
Yeah, there you go. Because I'm sure a guy like a Jay Snake, if it's a chance to win the championship, a 24 first don't mean nothing to him.
Yeah.
So why don't we hit this last question real quick?
Sure.
We've been going for a while already, but you want to throw it up on the screen?
I can do that.
My man from RS German traded Pierce and Olave for Chase. How we feeling? Now I'm going to assume that this is a redraft league. If you did this in Dynasty, I'm feeling real good. But I'm going to make the assumption that this is redraft. And to be honest with you, I like it a lot. I was never high on Pierce, and he proved me wrong for a little bit, but Benjamin is in town. That team is always a little sketchy on how they use their players. And Olave was good when Jameis was out there, but this Andy Dalton thing has not been great for Olave. So give me, Chase. I like it either way. Obviously I love it more in Dynasty, but even if this is redraft, I loved it too. What are your thoughts, Drew?
Yeah, I think it's solid. And there are some folks out there that are really, really into Chris Olave, especially for Dynasty. I think where is he compared to the other rookie wide receivers this year? I feel like he's been doing really well. Even with Dalton, he's been double digits almost every week.
So let's check out.
So I think this is an interesting one here. Again, depending on league settings, like how many starters do you need? If this is a 14-team league, I could see making this kind of move with Chase. I would, of course, like to get as much as I can back. And I'm not I don't think I'm quite on the Dameon Pierce train like some other folks are. I don't know that it's sustainable. I think the situation is right for him this year.
I don't know that he holds that through a coaching change in the next year or two, if that's what's coming up. But again, if you're a contender and you just need to have some depth, and Olave has shown you enough over the last 7-8 weeks. Pierce has obviously done a good bit, and you want to kind of split Jamar Chase into these two guys. I don't hate it. And I could definitely see how somebody would get there. So 10-team league, 8-3. Okay. So yeah, 10-team league, you're trying to consolidate. So yeah, love it.
Yeah, Olave has had either 70 plus yards or a touchdown in all but 3 games this season. So he's been pretty consistent on getting you on the board. But yeah, I mean, this is a 10-team league, like Drew said. You're 8-3. I think that Chase really kind of boosts you to another level.
Yep.
And like Drew said, consolidating is the key in a 10-team league, unless you have like 12, 13 starting spots.
Yeah.
Then it evens out a little bit more. But that's I love that trade either way. Doesn't really matter to me. So all right, Drew, I think that's it, man. We've been going for a while. We had a good time on this one, man. We got to chat. We got to work through some stuff. One of our trades got rejected.
It did.
That's fine. That's the whole kind of point of trading, right? It's obviously you want to get a trade done, but you know, there's some back and forth. You know, we all value players a little bit differently. Even when we spoke about the Goddard trade, right? We were like, we thought a little bit differently about where the value was, right? So that's the fun of it. But on that note, we're out of here. It's been such a good time. Remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. Please hit the bell. Please leave a comment. We love the interaction, and we love we love what that does for us. If you're doing a podcasting with us, thank you very much. Almost 2 hours. That's crazy. That's a lot of time. I mean, I guess the good news is if you're traveling for Thanksgiving tomorrow, you have something to listen to, or while you're cooking the turkey,
Indeed.
or making the stuffing or the mashed potatoes or whatever you're doing, you got something to listen to. Just remember, subscribe. Maybe we will refer to you by someone else. Rate, review if you can. We love all that stuff. Happy Thanksgiving, Drew. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone listening and watching. We appreciate you guys. We are thankful for all of you. And on that note, Drew, we are out of here.
Late.